الحمد لله نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وكأي من آية في السماوات والأرض يمرون عليها وهم عنها معرضون صدق الله العظيم. Respected elders, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When we meet someone, especially someone that we don't know too well, most people tend to talk about the weather. It's a hot day or windy, or we're getting nice rain, or like this time of the year, it's getting cold at night. It may seem trivial, but what we're actually talking about are some of the signs in nature that are there for us to ponder about and learn lessons from. To begin with, let us look at the wind. A slight breeze on a hot day is pleasant, but on cold days it adds to the chill, while a strong wind can cause damage to both natural and man-made structures. Travel by sea dependent on the winds. Huge sails harnessing the wind were used to make travel quicker, and the direction of the winds influenced the trade routes of the past, which eventually influenced political geography because of colonialism, etc. Other forms of generating power for ships have developed since, but recently there have been studies to start reusing wind to sail cargo ships in an effort to be more environmentally friendly. About the wind we read in Surah Rum, verse 46. Among his signs is thus, that he sends the winds as heralds of glad tidings, giving you a taste of his mercy, that the ships may sail by his command, and that you may seek of his bounty, in order that you may be grateful. Staying with the winds, there are other benefits that we depend on them for. We are probably all aware of the role that bees and other insects play in the pollination of many plants. However, not all types of plants can be pollinated by insects. Some are dependent on the winds for pollination, for example, the grass in our gardens. The Quran mentions pollinating winds in Surah Hijr, verse 22. And we send the pollinating winds, then cause the rain to descend from the sky, therewith providing you with water in abundance, though you are not guardians over its stores. We notice the verse I have just read mentions rain. For further detail on the role of the winds in producing rain, we read in Surah Rum, verse 48. It is Allah who sends the winds and they raise the clouds. Then does he spread them in the sky as he wills, and breaks them into fragments, until you see raindrops issue from the midst thereof. Then when he has made them reach such of his servants as he wills, behold, they do rejoice. Most of the time when it rains, especially here in the high veld, the rain is accompanied by thunder and lightning. Many people are afraid of lightning, as we know the harms of it. People can get seriously injured and even die when struck by lightning. The trees and buildings can catch fire, causing lots of damage. Regarding lightning, we read in Surah 30, verse 24. And among his signs, he shows you the lightning by way both of fear and of hope, and he sends down rain from the sky, and with it gives life to the earth after it is dead. Verily in that are signs for those who are wise. Interestingly, the verse mentions fear and hope. Hope is usually because when we see the clouds and lightning in the distance, we expect some rain. But lightning is not only a sign of rain, it plays an important role for life on this earth. All living things depend on the chemical element nitrogen. Proteins form an important part of our diets, and nitrogen is essential for proteins. 78% of Earth's atmosphere is made up of nitrogen, but we cannot absorb the nitrogen when we breathe. We simply exhale it. For nitrogen to be useful, it needs to be broken down to combine with oxygen and hydrogen in the air, forming nitrates. Nitrates are good fertilizers, which plants use to create proteins, which we then eat. Plants we know are produced from seeds, and from the seeds that we plant in the ground. We know that they need water, sunlight, and fertilizers to grow. We know of what conditions and the laws of Allah in nature that plants require to grow. But anyone that has tried gardening will know that not always will the plants grow from the seeds that we plant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us in Surah Waqiyah verses 63 to 65. See you the seed that you sow in the ground. Is it you that cause it to grow, or are we the cause? Were it our will, we could crumble into dry powder, and you would be left in wonderment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers this question for us in Surah An'am, verse 95. It is Allah who causes the seed grain and the date stone to split and sprout. How powerful we think we sometimes are, but yet we don't even know with certainty that the plant will grow even when we have the conditions perfect. From the verses that I have mentioned thus far, you will notice a recurring theme of rain being mentioned. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses rain many times as a similitude for us in explaining an important aspect of faith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses similitudes for us to be able to understand the unknown by using examples of things we know. A core aspect of our faith is the belief in our resurrection on the Day of Judgment. Many people find it difficult to understand that when we have died and our bodies have decomposed to become part of the earth, that we can be brought back to life again. This was a question that was brought to the Prophet ﷺ. The Quran mentions this in Surah Bani Israel, verse 49, among many other places. It reads, they say, what? When we are reduced to bones and dust, should we really be raised up as a new creation? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers this in many places in the Quran, one of which is Surah Fussilat, verse 39. And among his signs is this, you see the earth barren and desolate, but when we send down rain to it, it is stirred to life and yields increase. Truly he who gives life to the dead earth can surely give life to men who are dead, for he has power over all things. We will notice this now in the winter months when everything is brown and dry and looking dead. In a few months' time when the rains come, we will see our surroundings looking lush, green and full of life. To continue with the examples of water in the Quran, we can look at the water cycle. We have come across the verses about water coming down, but what happens afterwards? What happens to the water that is not used up by the plants or animals for drinking? In Surah Mu'minun, verse 18, we read, and we send down water from the sky according to due measure, and we cause it to soak in the soil, and we certainly are able to drain it off with ease. This draining off or causing to vanish of the water could be evaporation if it is surface water, but what about the water that soaks into the soil? This water forms part of the groundwater which can be extracted through boreholes or gush out as springs, or eventually join water bodies like the ocean. This is mentioned in Surah Zumar verse 21, hundreds of years before the scientists figured it out. It reads, do you not see that Allah sends down rain from the sky and leads it through springs in the earth? To conclude the examples of rain and water in the Quran, we look at the control of the weather. Mankind cannot control where it rains, when it rains, or how much it rains. That is why we still have areas that are affected by drought and others by floods. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us in Surah Waqiyah, verses 68 to 70, see you the water which you drink. Do you bring it down in rain from the cloud, or do we? With our world we could make it salt and unpalatable. Then why do you not then give thanks? Scientists have tried to make it rain or increase the amount of rain by methods such as cloud seeding. Some claim to be successful, while most studies show that cloud seeding has little, if any, impact on the amount of rain. Another point mentioned in these verses is that it is pure drinkable water that comes down as rain. The man-made methods use substances that could be toxic to humans or the environment. Moving on to another example of nature that we can look at, and that is cattle, which includes sheep, cows, goats, etc. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, and cattle he has created for you men, from them you derive warmth, numerous benefits, and of their meat you eat. And you have a sense of pride and beauty in them as you drive them home in the evening, and as you lead them forth to pasture in the morning. And they carry your heavy loads to lands that you could not otherwise reach, except with souls distressed. For your Lord is indeed most kind, most merciful. And he has created horses, mules, and donkeys for you to ride and use for show. And he has created other things of which you have no knowledge. I found it interesting that the Arabic word for cattle, an comes from the same root word as ni'mah, favors or blessings. And as the verse says, we derive many benefits from cattle. The natural wools are much softer and comfortable to wear than synthetic man-made materials. And in cold weather, it helps us keep warm better. Most of us here, I'm sure, love to eat meat, and not many days pass without meat in our diets. Before cars, trucks, and trains, these animals were used to transport the heavy goods for men. We know from the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ about the camel trade caravans going long distances. Just recently, there was a video going around showing a donkey cart reversing in a parking area in South Africa. We may laugh at it, and the car guard directing it, but it shows that till today, despite all the fancy cars and modern modes of transport that we have, there are areas that people still use and depend on animals for transport. Milk is considered by many an essential to our diets. We have it in our cereals, tea, other drinks, use it for baking, and even in some foods. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes in the Quran how milk is made in Surah Nahl verse 66. And verily in cattle too will you find an instructive sign from what is within their bodies between excretions and blood. We produce for you drink milk, pure and agreeable to those who drink it. Cows eat grass, and after all the chemical processes in the body, we have white milk with no sign of the grass anywhere. Just a few verses later, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the bees and honey. Verses 68 and 69 read, And your Lord taught the bee to build its cells in hills, on trees, and in man's habitations, then to eat of all the produce of the earth, and to find with skill the spacious paths of its Lord. There issues from within their bodies a drink of varying colors, wherein is healing for men. Verily in this is a sign for those we've taught. Honey has been used for centuries for medicinal purposes. Some of its uses are the treatments of wounds and burns, reducing diarrhea duration, preventing acid reflux, fighting infections, cough remedies, and has antioxidants that may play a role in preventing heart disease. I've just touched on a few of what some would call the scientific miracles in the Quran. There are many other examples that one could look at that I will not go into, like the creation of everything, the mountains, the sun and the moon, and other planets and stars in our own creation, and development in and the development of humans in our mother's wombs. But the Quran is not a book of science. What then is the purpose of these verses? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the answer in Surah Al-Imran, verses 190 to 191. Behold, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of night and day, there are indeed signs for men of understanding. Men who celebrate the praises of Allah, standing, sitting, and lying down on their sides, and contemplate the wonders of creation in the heavens and the earth, with the thought, Our Lord, not for nothing have you created all this. Glory to you. Give us salvation from the penalty of the fire. We usually find in the Quran an example of one of the prophets for many situations in our lives. The prophet most applicable for today's subject is Ibrahim alayhi salam. Surah An-Nam verses 75 to 79 tells us about his searching for Allah at a time when his people worshipped idols. So also did we show Ibrahim the power and the laws of the heavens and the earth, that he might with understanding have certitude. When the night covered him over and he saw a star, he said, This is my Lord. But when it set, he said, I love not those that set. When he saw the moon rising in splendor, he said, This is my Lord. But when the moon set, he said, Unless my Lord guide me, I shall surely be among those who go astray. When he saw the sun rising in splendor, he said, This is my Lord, this is the greatest of all. But when the sun set, he said, O my people, I am indeed free from the guilt of giving partners to Allah. For me, I have set my face firmly and truly towards Him who created the heavens and the earth, and never shall I give partners to Allah. It is not merely looking at the natural phenomena that would have led him to arrive at his conclusions. He would have had to ponder over what he saw to be able to see that even things created by Allah are not much different than things that man make when it comes to devoting ourselves to their service. We may marvel at the beauty and perfection of nature, but should always keep in mind that they are but the creation of Allah. We are advised in Surah Fussilat, verse 37. Among His signs are the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. Adore not the sun and the moon, but adore Allah who created them, if it is Him who you wish to serve. I conclude with a warning from Allah to those who do not wish to realize that there are things all around us that point us in the direction of the Supreme Creator, who alone is deserving of our servants and obedience. Surah Yusuf verse 105 reads, And how many signs in the heavens and the earth do they pass by? Yet they turn their faces away from them. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.